Hello Chakabatis, welcome. Thank you for joining Hillary and moi for this video, and we have the Andy Burnham LP album cover, the Andy Burnham CD cover, and later on in this video, a caricature appearance by, yes, you've guessed it, Andy Burnham. Applying, as we've done with previous politicians, show business principles, how celebrities stay top of the first division, become relevant over years and years, and how politicians now endeavour to communicate with who should be the most important people in their lives, you, the electorate. Do stick with us to find out what happens when we apply these principles to Andy Burnham.
Nigel.cecil, calling things out.
Chakabatis, thank you for sticking with us. This should be fun, all meant in the best possible taste, because of course we're not discussing policies when it comes to applying show business principles to Andy Burnham, because policies, that's down to the individual. Kemi Badenoch, Nigel Farage, Sir Keir Starmer, Rishi Sunak, anyone in fact, Liz Truss, we don't mind. It's their policies, that's personal to them. All we're discussing, applying show business principles to the way they endeavour to convey those policies to you. You, the most important people in their lives, or at least it should be, the electorate. Celebrities know this. And they also know that the way you understand them and relate to them, it's all about, I've got the music inside of me, the soul music, whatever the genre of music, their fans can identify. Just look at Harry Styles at Wembley, 12 sellout nights, and you can bet your bottom dollar the person at the back of the Wembley Stadium would feel as involved and as important as those at the front. The politicians forget that. Now, at the People's Museum, give credit to Andy Burnham. Not sure where they were, but they did refer to someone who appeared to be at the back of the room.
Message from the back of the room there. Good morning, Mr. Mason.
Whoever the Chris is. But there's another Chris that comes to mind, because Christopher Hope from GB News, doorstepped Andy Burnham the day after the People's Museum speech. And guess what they managed to get from Andy?
Good to see you. Are you ready for Cafe? Ready?
I'm excited, actually, is what I am, by the reaction.
I'm excited. But did that come across in Andy's speech? Were they having to read their notes, hide behind the glasses that you couldn't see the light in their eye? And without being able to see that soul music, it's so difficult. So we now look at some of the things they said and see, do they actually apply? Do they, well, ring the bell, hoist the flag up the flagpole? They mentioned Manchesterism.
But public intervention where necessary to set higher ambitions for towns, as we did in Stockport, and kickstart the process of change. This is Manchesterism.
What does that actually mean? They tried to explain it. Well, they did explain it. But what does that mean to Londoners? What does it mean to those in Scotland, in Ireland, in Wales, in Devon and Cornwall? Manchesterism? No. When you're thinking about showbiz, you expand it. Andy mentioned something about Manchester, but they had an opportunity. It would only take them 15 seconds. 15 seconds, we've got Manchesterism. Liverpoolism, just look at the culture of Liverpool. They've got the liver birds. Just look at the culture of Leeds. They've got the owls. What about Newcastle? Well, they've got the seahorses. And what does it mean? Where there's muck, there's brass. We are northerners, and we know how to drive things to success. And it appears that politicians are not learning lessons from what northerners know. So instead of just focusing on Manchesterism, it should have been, well, northernism for all the country. So Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Devon and Cornwall, East Anglia can all feel involved. And that's why put the electorate first. Is Andy thinking too local? Now, did you spot something Andy was wearing? No one seems to have picked up on it. But have you spotted this here? The bee. The bee, and when you look at the traditions of the bee in Manchester, it does have historical value, brought back to the fore again in the Manchester Festival in 1973. Henry King, Warren Mitchell. And what was it, Warren Marshall? Yes, I'm getting involved with Showbiz. Sorry about that, Warren. But anyway, look at the history of the bee. Look at the history of the liver birds. Look at the history of the owls. Look at the history of the seahorses. It's all there. That tradition, that value. And surely Andy should have, well, in 10 seconds, mentioned that. But they were wearing the bee. They were wearing the bee. Is that part of their belief then? Is that what's motivating them? But if it is, how come they weren't wearing it when they were doorstepped by Christopher Hope? Because if you've got a belief, well, it's there with me all the time. Whatever I say, whatever I do, I can do it. So spot the bee, Andy. Come on, be Andy. And he reminds us of this little ditty, been going on for years.
Oh, what a glorious thing to be.
A busy bee, a busy bee.
Buzz, 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 honeybee, honeybee.
We can sting. You know, Muhammad Ali comes to mind as well.
Buzz, if you like, but don't sting me.
Get that driving force. What about, well, Be Made in Britain? Is that a logo that could be used? Could you develop it? Those are the sort of things, if you're trying to communicate, you should be looking at. Where there's muck, there's brass. Now, what comes after the B?
Love the interest Number 10 North is generating. Looking at some of the designs for it, look at this. But there's a big plus for this one, yellow train. Where's the B on it? Without that, I think we have a winner. Look at this, absolutely brilliant. Manchester vibes in the area. Don't look back, not in anger, don't look back to Westminster. I'm loving this. 9.5.
Number 10 in the North, engaging with those who wish to get in touch with Andy judging the posters that came in for Number 10 in the North. Which brings us to, if we've got a poster competition, why not have an album competition? Which tracks would you present to Andy Burnham that should be on their album? Well, there may be some that you like, some that Andy doesn't like, but if we engage truthfully together, well, we're now going to have the caricature appearance of Andy, because guess what? Years on years, Ollie Alexander, King. I'm a king under your control. I want to feel like you've let me go. Let me go. Andy, King, apply that tune. Should it be on the album for the Andy Burnham album? All meant in the best possible taste. Analyse it and see what you think. And when it comes to an album, King of the North. You see, there's another thing. King of the North. Never presume, never assume. Who gave that title to Andy? Was it the electorate? We've done the research, and it appears, well, it was a mainstream media creation. If we've got it wrong, do let us know. But if it was a mainstream media creation, then you need to ditch it. Because without the approval of the most important people, the electorate, then don't try anything, because everything should be based on the truth. Which is why we come to our caption. The caption, this one, yes, Andy Burnham, dressed in the black, everything. You're saying, what's it all about? No doubt. Well, we go back to first principles, and now put earplugs in your ears, some of you, because we're going to mention Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher, an iron fist in a velvet glove. The electorate voted for Margaret Thatcher not because they liked her policies, some of them, but they trusted her to do what she said she was going to do. And that's why we've mentioned before, we're not discussing policies. It's whether you believe in the politician. Because when you come to vote, just like a pop star, it's all compromise. Well, we don't like that track as much as the previous one, but we still like them. The music inside of you. So Margaret Thatcher, that determination, that strength, to get things done. And surely that's what we're lacking in politicians nowadays. Which is why we came up, because people will say, well, they do say, Andy Burnham, a socialist, a bit of a communist. Well, if they are, stick with it. Stick with it, because you can build on that. It's the truth. And it doesn't really matter in some ways what your policies are. It's what you are determined to do, which is why we sort of, copied Margaret Thatcher in a way, and then got this image, which we sort of mixed and matched, of Andy looking, well, we'd have liked to put a hint of a smile on their face, but we weren't able to do that really, were we, Hillary? No, we didn't have the gear to get it all organised. But anyway, I'm digressing again. But this fist, it's the fist that represents determination. And just as Maggie was in a velvet glove, Andy is in flames. A sunshine, sun-glowing flame initially, to show that this is hope, this is determination, this is inspiration that's going to push forward, surrounded by a golden yellow. So we know that when we achieve success, we will be able to sit back and enjoy it. Come on, you'll say, that's a load of codswallop, but that's the idea. How you get things across, you have to have that belief in your heart. And you also have to look for the magic moment. The magic moment, you never know when it's going to happen. Celebrities know they're always looking to see what the fans are doing. The Bay City Rollers back in the 70s, they didn't suddenly decide to put tartan on their clothes. No, they didn't have much money. They were just doing little gigs in Scotland. But then some of their fans started stitching a little bit of tartan to identify with the Rollers. So suddenly the Rollers thought, hey, we'll start doing that. And then everyone started doing it, and it became known, put a little bit of tartan on your clothes. Will this happen? Could it happen to the bee? Could that black and yellow? And come on, before someone says you can't use black and yellow because that political party does and that political party does and that football team does. No, it's what comes from the fans. If the fans identify with that colour, those yellow and black, then that's your credibility. Things come from the grassroots upwards. Now politicians, well, so I'm digressing again. So how do we get the poster? Well, one of the things we say, think of the grassroots. And so you've got Andy Burnham, you've got the fist. And what would happen if you were looking through everything and you found just a genuine comment from someone that said, why did you vote for Andy? And they said, well, because Andy cares. And it sort of sends shivers down you. Now, it might not be that, but that's what you're looking for. So you put Andy cares. Now, here's where media types start to forget. Never presume, never assume. Because when you look at the posters, a country asking for something is different. But we're talking about Andy. So someone might say, okay, that's good. Let's put Andy cares for you. Nigel Farage cares for you. No, that's assuming. That's assuming. It's not your place as the politician to say, well, I care for you. That's for the electorate to decide how you care. So that's why it should say, Andy cares, full stop, nothing else. It's up to the electorate to determine whether they believe you care or they don't believe you care. But anyway, coming to the close of Andy's speech, never assume, never presume anything. And they finished in a wonderful way with imagine. Imagine. And you think, come on a minute. Andy's got roots in Liverpool. Why didn't they mention, because I didn't say just the Bay City Rollers, 1970, whatever it was, why didn't they mention the wonderful son of Liverpool, John Lennon with Yoko Ono? And in the 70s, their song Imagine. You know, the aspirations in that song from the 70s haven't changed nowadays. And Andy, there'll be those listening to your speech, and unless you explained about Imagine, they probably don't even know about John Lennon. Wouldn't it be wonderful to say, lessons to be learnt, and we've learnt them. Imagine back in the 70s means just as much today as it did then, because it brings us hope and inspiration.
Imagine what things could be like if we succeed. Imagine if we could. Imagine.
As a pop star, celebrity, top of the first division, they would know to relate. There are so many different ways of saying imagine.
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 Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine. Imagine. Imagine.
I'll say it again. Imagine good growth in every postcode and hope in every heart. Well, imagine no more. Let's make it happen.
There you have it, Chuckabutties. Just a brief roundup of applying show business principles top of the first division to Andy Burnham. Imagine. What do you think? Nothing really is set in stone in the first division because it's up to you to know when to break the rules of the magic moment. And it's up to those surrounding you, advising you all the time to be looking out for that magic moment that makes sure that you know you must never presume, never assume. Imagine. Andy cares. Do they?